What's up, page turners? All right, I apologize for the delay. My producer called out sick today, so I gotta click everything myself. Click, 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 click. Welcome to Writers with Purpose. I'm your host, Melvese from Written Words Publishing. At Written Words Publishing, we envision a world where every storyteller, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to share their voice, shape narratives, and impact the world through the written word. So if you value powerful storytelling, which I know you do, page turners, because y'all are here with us today, I need you to do me a favor, like this video or this audio, wherever you're watching it or listening. Follow this channel, follow this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, and share, 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 okay? Because what I found out is that every episode of Writers with Purpose has something that somebody needs to hear. Okay. So if you hear something that you know somebody you know needs to hear, you do us a favor and you share this episode. Okay. Today, our guest is Devon Kimbro. Okay. Devon Kimbro's The Chronicles of the Magus Bloodline takes us to the year 2544, way in the future, y'all, where magic and technology have become part of everyday life. But one young man is about to discover that his entire identity has been built on a lie. Could you imagine? After learning he's not human, wow. But he's one of the last surviving werewolves from a destroyed bloodline. Okay, Gavin, that's the character, is pulled into a world of power, destiny, and impossible choices. So if you love fantasy and hidden truths and magical academies and unforgettable world building, you're in for a great conversation today. So page turners, let's welcome Devon Kimbro to the stage with us today. How are you doing, Devon?
I am fantastic. How are you today?
I am doing great. Tell the page turners something about yourself.
So it's nothing real special. 34 years old, married to my wife over the last 10 years. We've been together, married for 5 now. We got a adorable pain in the ass Fluffers, who's a black lab hound mix. Been working on this series for going on 2 years now, and November is when I started it, November 24. Just been spending most of my free time working on this ever since.
Awesome. So you mentioned it's a series. So is this book, is it going to be a series? Is this like book one of a series?
Yep. So this original published back in June of last year, and then afterwards I did a lot more just self-research and everything after I self-published, and kind of just had this itching, thought in the back of my head of, oh, I could have written this part better. I could have done that better. So in the self-perfectionist way, I've been spent the last year now doing a rewrite on the entire book that's out, and I'm actually just about ready to release it again about the same time, end of June, for the rewrite edition. But I've expanded on the world, deepened the characters, deepened the lore. I've included a lot more plans that I didn't have originally to go into the first book that I put out there last year. I've definitely slowed it down a lot more compared to what it was, but with the thought of being able to, because I guess let me backtrack for a minute. Sorry, I got lost in the thought there. When I wrote this book, it was originally supposed to be a daily episodic series on like Pocket FM or something. That was my hope, was get paid a little bit of money, put out 1,000, 2,000 word chapter every day, and Pocket FM uses an AI system to turn every chapter into a listening audio like web series. And their AI system was so glitchy that if it detected you didn't get exactly the right amount of views by a certain point, it automatically removes your stuff from the app. Like there's no human oversight. It's just, oh, our system says you're not getting the views the way that you should be by week 7, you're gone. And so after going through that a couple of times, where the first time I actually did lose everything, because that's, excuse me, what I used was just their program to write and store everything, because they have a writing app, and just I used their service. But once they remove you for whatever reason, you can't access any of your written work.
Wow.
So I lost my drafts, I lost my notes, I lost the first 30 chapters I originally wrote of this by January 2025. And I was salty. I spent
no, I was going to say, I feel your pain. Let's just pause for a second right there. No, yeah, because you know what's great about being a writer, being an author, is the ability to learn from others, right? And a lot of times, some authors have already been through things. And when you find out what they went through and how they overcame it, that will give you the opportunity to avoid such a situation, right? So let's just pause for a second right here. And let's talk about backing up your work. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. You never want to have all of your work, all of your intellectual property,
ducks in a row.
Oh yes, you don't want to have them all your eggs in one basket, for lack of a better way to say it, right? So if you are in a situation where you have all of your work on one platform and one software, you have to back it up. You can copy it and paste it into an email and send it to yourself. You can put it in a Word document or a Google document. You can save it on the flash drive. There's multiple ways that you can back up your work, but you want to make sure that you always have a backup. Write it all down on a piece of paper and stick it in an envelope or a folder somewhere, if that's what you got to do, so that if you have to go back and retype all of that stuff, you know exactly what to retype. If you have to restore
it. Nowadays, I use Web Novel. I post my chapters on there for my beta readers to go through and read it as I update it. My primary writing app is Reedsy, and I love that one because it's got 1,001 templates that you can store right there on your book project. So I've got like all the character bios, all the mythology bios, every little bit of like the magic system laws and notes and stuff. So I have all that right there in reference. And then I also copy the chapters from there onto Web Novel as I post it. And then I also save it into Microsoft Word as well. So I've got like a triple redundancy because I'm making sure I'm not losing all that time and effort again. Because when that happened, I probably went a month, maybe 2 months, where I was just like so angry and just like, no, I'm not touching this. And then after like so much time, it's like, I just spent 2.5, 3 months building all that. It got erased. I'm not just going to let that go. Like, I've already poured so much time into it. I'm going to see this finished. And so luckily when that happened, I did have the first 10 chapters, because before I started submitting it onto Pocket FM, I had sent them to like friends and family and coworkers, the first 10 chapters as I was going. So I was able to recover some, but not a whole lot.
Okay, well, something is better than nothing, that's for sure. But
yes, 100%.
One situation that you never want to end up in. So that's great that you saw, after you released the book, you saw where you could refine it, you could improve it and make it better. Did you seek out any type of like developmental editing assistance or anything? What avenue did you take to improve your story?
So I'm broker than a college boy, coming from a poor family. So all the editing and stuff has basically been done by myself, my beta readers. Luckily, in that regard, is one of my first sales of the original way back when in September, I went to GalaxyCon in Des Moines, Iowa, first ever like kind of con experience, and I went there as a vendor, and I took like 10 copies, just to try and do it more for the word of mouth publicity. And one of my first people that I made a sale to actually is a English teacher over in Nebraska. And she quickly like became one of my biggest like beta readers and partners on this project. And she's been going through after I've worked on a chapter and doing a lot of the editing and stuff, bless her heart, for free, because she knows I ain't got, basically I don't got pennies to my name with everything going on. So she's been helping me a lot. And the reason I haven't gone to like professional editing or anything like that is a lot of them charge like 2 cents or 3 cents on a word. And let's just take my original script of 175,000 words. You're looking at anywhere from $3 to $5 grand just for basic first layer editing to be done. I ain't got that kind of money.
That's true. Let me just hold on a second, Devin. Let me just throw a shameless plug right in here where you open up the door for Written Words Publishing right here. So yes, editing can be extremely expensive. There are a few ways that you can get around that. Number one, you can try to find an editor that is willing to work with you and negotiate the price with you. That's an option. You might be able to find an editor who will work with you on a payment plan where you can stretch it out so you don't have to cough up all of the money at one time, and you can work that into your budget, and that is an option. You can come to writtenwordspublishing.com/editing, where we offer affordable premium editing service. Okay, 5-star material. We could be charging 2 or 3 times more than what we charge for editing, and we charge an hourly rate, and you can do a payment plan if that's what you like to do to map it out, because one thing that we don't want authors to be is broke. Okay, we don't want you to be broke, and we also do not want you to have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to share 5-star material with the whole entire world. Okay, I just had to get that out right there. So
no, but then you'll get a kick out of this. Reedsy is so much more than just about the writing. Like they've got like a marketplace section where you can find editors and artists for like cover design and markets and just all that kind of stuff. So I reached out to some editors, and I was getting quotes because of the length of the book, and at this time it was down to about 150,000 words, anywhere from 5,000 to one person quoted me as much as it was like 11,000 to do like the developmental, the line editing, the proof, just all the 3 main categories of editing. They were going to do all that and all this other stuff and they were wanting to charge like $11,000. I seen that and I was like, no.
No, that's a lot. That is a lot. I mean, who can afford, stuff like that? We have to be realistic. And I understand that, if you're editor and that's your profession and that's what you live off of, then you do have to charge the rates that you have to charge so that you can make a living, and hopefully you'll get the clientele that you need that will sustain you. But in a situation with the grace that we have over here at Written Words Publishing, the company is not our only source of income, so that provides us the avenue to provide extremely affordable rates for high quality, superb service. Let's jump into your book. If someone loves fantasy but they never heard of the Chronicles of Magus Bloodlines, why would they pick it up? Tell us why somebody should read this.
So I liken the story very much to the Inkheart series by Cornelia Funk, mixed with the Sookie Stackhouse True Blood series, with a little bit of the political intrigue and real life reactions and world building of Game of Thrones. So you got a little bit of spiciness in there, You got, all different kinds of paranormal and supernatural creatures. You got, a whole pantheon in the world of Alindra. And my goal ever since I was a kid was to write a series that no matter what someone's got going on, they can lose themselves for a few minutes while they're on a page. Forget their stress, forget everything, and just find a few minutes of peace and just mental freedom while they read something. Because I know that I did countless times when I read series. That was my escape growing up from all the stress and drama that a 14-year-old, goes through. And I just have always wanted to create something like that for someone else. So even if one person can enjoy and find themselves lost in my pages, then to me that is worth all the days of sleep deprivation and pulling my hair out trying to get this as perfect and well written as I can for anyone that would read it.
Okay, all right, great. I see that your story, it embodies, you blended magic and advanced technology. Then you got werewolf lores, in the world and everything. Which element came first, and which one was the hardest for you to write? The magic, the technology, the world. What was it? The characters?
So it kind of more or less came around equal, I would say. Every time I've gone through and done rounds of edits or rechanged stuff up, it has grown exponentially every time. Originally this was going to be just, shapeshifters, to like the main female, she is a werecat shapeshifter. Werewolf, just her form is, feline cat. And then it kind of went to, okay, what would be the conflict? Well, there's, naturally you got to have racist humans in there somewhere that, shapeshifters, they're, mangy animals and, not pure human, yada, yada, yada. And then from there kind of went to, okay, well, I want this to be unique. So let's kind of create like a magic, system. And then I went to, what are the rules of the magic? They can't just do anything they want to whenever they want to, because that's freaking boring. And just every time it just got fleshed out more and more. And now what I actually am really glad it's to where it's at, because each of the gods is associated with an element of creation. You got fire, water, earth, and air, and then light and darkness. And then the last two gods, 6 and 7, are the gods of fate, order, and justice. So I've tried to, in just about every aspect of the book, make it a system of checks and balances where everything has a counter. And so each of the gods also has created one of the demi-human races. The god of death and the high father of the pantheon created the vampires. The all mother created the Valkyries, the goddess of light. The goddess of water created the mermaid species. The god of earth created the shifter race, so on and so forth. But mankind only knows of the shapeshifters because they were one of the first ones created by the youngest of the gods. And in doing so, mankind sees how powerful they are because they can naturally use more magic and stronger magic. So what does mankind do when mankind figures and doesn't understand? Mankind destroys. And so centuries before the start of the book, mankind basically world governments try to round up and purge all the specific bloodlines, the apex predators, the wolves, the lions, the bears, all the ones that can use that stronger magic. They try to basically just remove those lines, because they're like, well, what if they want to rise up and take control of the government and change all this and the status quo and this and that? And when the other race has seen that, they're like, we don't want no part of that. So they created the laws of secrecy, which basically means that the races will live among humans, but if they do anything to reveal, the Valkyries or the vampires or anything else to human eyes, then they get punished by up to and including termination. Because they're like, we don't have the kind of numbers and we don't want that kind of bloodshed that happened to the shifter race. So that's why mankind only knows of the shifters, but all the other races live everyday life in society. You could be sitting right next to someone, you could be dating someone and not even know it until they reveal their true form.
Wow. Wow. So you had to put a lot of thought and a lot of effort, a lot of mechanisms into creating this world. Did you enjoy building the world more or building your characters more? Which part did you enjoy the most?
I would say I enjoyed building the world more just for the aspect of every time I'm going through, especially when I'm doing a new chapter or even when I'm doing these edits and I think of a new way I could spin something or throw something in, I try and rack my mind on several main questions. First is, does this make sense in the established lore? Do I have to change anything prior that I have written to make it make sense? If it doesn't make sense and I have to do a crap ton of rework on it, I don't use it. If I don't have to do any changes and I can still weave it in a way that it makes absolute plausibility and okay, that makes sense, okay, I could see how that connects, then that's something that goes into a consideration deal that I'm like, all right, do I really want to go this route or that route? Because this route can lead to avenues of X, Y, and Z. This route can lead to avenues of A, B, and C. And so every time I come up with a new gimmick, like when I created the system Veronica for the main character, because this is also like one of it's called a lit RPG element, where Gavin is actually chosen by one of the gods because he has that ancient bloodline to be his messenger and do his work, so to speak, because ancient laws forbid direct divine intervention on the mortal world, meaning that the gods just can't come down and smite a mother just because they want to. So they have to enact through messengers and agents to do work and affect the physical world. And so when Corey chose Gavin, he gave him a system to help him harness his skills, grow stronger, because he has plans for him that Gavin doesn't know about. And so Gavin is constantly struggling with coming out and confessing to his best friend, building that relationship that every, first relationship goes through, and then also dealing with an ancient powerful god that's like, hey, there's a war coming. I need you to stop monkey farting around and get stronger so that you can be basically the agent of death and chaos that I need you to be, but I'm not going to tell you about that yet.
Was there anything, any of the scenes or aspects of your story that you ended up having to take out because of the way that you were developing the world that you wish you didn't have to take out or that you struggled with removing from the story?
Not really. I mean, there's definitely been a lot of stuff I've rewritten to where it does go with everything as I've gone through. Like I was said before, I really don't accept the changes where I have to do a whole bunch of rewrites just to add a new gimmick or something like that into when I'm especially as far in as I already am. But I've definitely had to go through and just rephrase certain sections, touch up certain things. Like when I originally wrote the book, I really didn't have a set of guidelines or laws like for the magic itself. I kind of had a rough idea, but I didn't have anything like concrete on what it could accomplish and what the rules of the magic were. And so I've just had to go through and like small phrases touched up here and there kind of thing. So nothing too major.
Okay, all right, that's great. Well, tell us, who is your favorite character in your story?
My favorite character is actually one of the Valkyries that gets introduced in the later half of the first book. And she so far doesn't have a whole lot of screen time, so to speak, but she is like the definition of jubilant, bouncing chaos. Like she's the type of character that you would see on an anime or a show that takes nothing serious, is always jumping around, laughing, complete chaos gremlin kind of energy. But the minute that someone shows like disrespect or tries to grab her arm and hold her still or something like that, she's got the kind of power that with a flick of her finger can literally remove your head from the body, and you would not expect that kind of just brutal power from such a tiny little package.
That's cool. That sounds like you had some fun writing that character also. It's always fun.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I love the scenes I've written for her.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I like your cover here. What avenue did you take to have your cover created?
So this is a cover. I reached out to an artist on Fiverr when I first had this cover made. God, over or just about a year ago, and that's what she came up with. Um, she's no longer doing freelance work on there, so I can't, send people over to her. But what's going to be funny is with this rewrite edition, I don't have the money to hire a artist per se, so I reached out on TikTok and was like, hey, what are some options that I can do? I don't have the money to pay, $300, $600, $700 for cover art and whatnot. And 3 people reached out and it's like, I'll do you a cover. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I was like, bet. So I've got like 3 really awesome design ideas. One of them is actually would be really. She gave me all the images to use so that I could set it up for like the whole series to have a like signature cohesive design to it and everything for hardcover design, for Dust Jacket and the actual book itself. So what I've kind of been joking and toying around with is the idea of with this rewrite, every like edition, paperback, hardback, whatever, it's going to have a different cover, so I can, show appreciation for these artists and be like, all right, this is going to be the one for my ebook one. This was done by this person, and the paperback's going to look this way, and the hardcover is going to look this way. And kind of make it also a little bit like a collector's kind of thing, because some people do care about that kind of stuff. So that people want to collect all the different cover designs. More power to them.
Cool. That's a nice unique idea and a way to go ahead and spread the
I also just really suck. Excuse me, really suck at picking important decisions. I mean, my wife would even attest to this, that I make her make the final decision on stuff because I'm just god awful at choosing. So that's where probably a good chunk of having all the different covers comes from. It's just the fact of I can't pick with all these awesome designs. Like, I like this, I like that, I want it all kind of thing.
That's good. Well, yeah, we'll let your wife have the final say. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'll make the final decision.
Oh yeah, happy wife, happy life.
You got that right. Well, tell us tell the page turners where they can purchase the Chronicles of Magus Bloodlines.
So it is out on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. Ebook is on Amazon only. It's also available on Audible as well for audiobook. And once I get everything done with the rewrite, it'll be the same with that. You'll be able to pick it up at Barnes and Nobles. You'll be able to order it on their website. Go on Amazon and purchase it through there as well. I'll be going through the same avenue of everything once I get the final 10 chapters edited and submitted, and then start all the process of setting the book covers and the formatting and all that stuff together. So it'll hopefully be out by the end of June.
Okay, that's awesome. We have some viewers that are watching, and Thomas Cole, you put a question in the chat. Did you start out from the get-go to write a multi-novel series, or did it kind of just happen after you started writing the first novel?
So I don't know if you were here earlier, but like I said at the beginning, my thought with this is because I enjoy listening to Pocket FM radio, and one story in particular, my vampire system has like over 2,000 chapters and whatnot, and so that was a lot of the I want to take this story slowly, show like slice of life, everyday kind of events, really take the time and develop everything. And so when I was going through this, I'm very much more of a right by the seat of my pants versus plan every little minute detail out. And I have certain events and stuff planned that I know I want to have in there, but then a lot of the in between kind of just comes up on the fly as I write. And so as I've gone through this, I have ideas for the second, third, and fourth book because I know, I mean, I could put them all in one book, but let's be honest, no one's going to want to pick up a 1,000 to 2,000 page, book that with today's cost would be like $80, $90, off the shelves. So it kind of just became more of a, I want to show this. Now I want to show scenes of this. And now I want to show like the aftermath. And it kind of just, from there, was just obvious that it was going to be a multi-series type, world that I was going to create. I just didn't have the full plans, everything when I started it.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, Tom, I hope that answered your question. And one last question before we go. Thomas is in the process of writing his first fantasy novel. Do you have any building tips for any fantasy authors out there who are going at it for the first time and have absolutely no idea what to do?
Shit. Hang on, I lost you.
Okay, that's fine. That's all right. That's this is
okay. We're good.
Go live.
So Thomas, first of all, congrats on making your first fantasy novel. That is definitely not something that's easy. The first thing I would decide is this world going to be based on our world, planet Earth, and one of our, the countries, or is this going to be everything ground up, unique, and is yours? If it's yours, okay. Start thinking about what's your mythos, what's your creation story, what's, how's your pantheon built up, what are the laws of your world that's going to govern everything. And once you decide, okay, do I want X amount of gods, or is it just, scientific big bang boom, here's the world, cosmic dust kind of thing, that'll really help you start fleshing things out. Like when I started mine, I just had the one god, the god of the shapeshifters, and I was like, oh, that's kind of lackluster. I need to, work on more than that. And if you ever need help with just fleshing out things that you wouldn't normally think about, go on to Readsy, and it's cheap. It's like $9 a month for their membership. You can do just about everything on their free. But on their membership, they have these world building templates, and they will literally help you with everything from what kind of grass seed and agriculture does your world have to how are the countries made, how are the cities, your ruling class. They have 1,000 different templates that are pre-populated with questions and stuff that you can fill out, you cannot fill out, you can pick and choose what you want to use. But it's really great just to get your brain going and flowing in the idea of what do I want to create and how do I want to do it. So that's one thing I would recommend. And then the next step is really just what makes the most sense to you. Do you want to just run by the seat of your pants, or do you want to sit there and try to combine everything in a very lore friendly way without it being super heavy info dump style?
That is some great advice, Devon. Thank you very much, Tom. I hope you found that useful. And another of our viewers said this was an awesome interview. This was an awesome interview, Devon. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad I was here.
Yes. And just like I said at the beginning, if you know someone out there who enjoys fantasy novels, who enjoys, other worlds and the shapeshifters and the magic and all of that stuff, share this episode with them, because it seems to me like they would enjoy Devon's books. And then on top of that, if you know somebody out there who is an aspiring fantasy author and they need some advice on how to build their world, what to do, how to build their characters, or some resources, Devon just gave us some huge gems. Okay, take them and use them. Take them and use them. Yes, Tom said this was very useful information. Thank you, Devon. Thank you so
You're
much for
very
being
welcome.
Writers with Purpose and sharing your insight with the page turners. So we're going to catch you all on the next episode of Writers with Purpose. So, if you're a writer, you keep on writing. And if you're a reader, you keep on reading. And above all, y'all keep turning those pages. All right. And we are going to see you all on the next episode of Writers with Purpose. Bye bye, everybody.